Hey, I'm Marianne, and to say that my mom is money obsessed is the biggest understatement ever. I grew up believing that money was everything, as it was a means to all the best things in life: a massive house, expensive clothes, and paradise beach vacations. If my mom wanted something, she bought it. Or, more to the point, she made her latest husband buy it for her. After divorcing my dad because he lost his job, my mom soon remarried. Her husband Larry was in his 80s when she met him, and he was a retired businessman. My mom charmed him, and soon after they met, they married. I don't remember all that much about Larry, only that he was old and couldn't do much. I remember my mom sobbing at his funeral, but the next day she didn't seem sad at all, and we went to Disney World. I guess the money began to run out, as a few years later my mom married again, this time to a 78-year-old millionaire called Barney. I'm not going to lie, my upbringing didn't make me the nicest person at times. I made fun of the other kids who didn't wear designer clothes or go on nice vacations like I did. I suppose I began to understand the world more when I visited my friend's house. Her parents were so sweet to each other. They brushed fingers as they passed in the corridor and gave each other soppy looks across the dining table. This was new to me, as I hadn't grown up surrounded by people in love. I remember going home and asking my mom if she loved Barney. She smirked at me and said, "Sure, Marianne, and I love the nice things he buys me even more." I was 14 when Barney died from a heart attack. Mom sobbed at his funeral, then the next day she took me to Hawaii. For the next few years, her lavish spending continued, but she was also being sued by Barney's kids over inheritance money. So this used up a big chunk of her funds on lawyers, and by the time I was 17, Mom was out of money. She told me she was too old to go after a rich man again, so now it was my turn. I didn't want to marry someone for money. Geez, I didn't want to marry someone, full stop. Even though Mom was now in a lot of debt, she continued living her rich facade. She held lavish parties and hung out with her rich friends. At one of these parties, I met this guy in his late 20s called Gregory. He was handsome and seemed nice enough, if not a bit dull. He kept staring at me, and I danced with him to be polite. Mom seemed thrilled, as apparently Gregory was from a wealthy family. Mom convinced me that my dreams of going to college and modeling on the side seemed dumb. Besides, there was no money left for me to do this now. Mom believed that women didn't need an education. Instead, they just needed a rich man to provide for them. The next day, Mom let me skip school, and our driver took us up to this glamorous mansion out in the countryside. It turns out it belonged to Gregory's millionaire parents. Gregory was there, and he pulled out a massive diamond ring and told me he couldn't wait to marry me. Turns out, Mom had agreed for me to marry him without consulting me first. I just stood there mortified. I barely knew the guy. I love my mom, but I had no romantic interest in Gregory at all. So that night, I cried to Mom that I couldn't marry him. She told me that if I didn't do this, then she wouldn't be able to live with the shame. Besides, it only had to be for a few years, then I could divorce him and find someone richer. I didn't know what else to do. I know my mom has her faults, but I love her and didn't want to cause her embarrassment. I convinced myself that marrying Gregory would be okay, as I'd never have to worry about money ever again. I pulled out of school and put all my attention into preparing to be Gregory's wife. I enjoyed trying on pretty lace wedding dresses, picking colorful bouquet flowers, and had the most amazing bachelorette party in Mexico. But a week before the wedding, Gregory dropped a bombshell. I had to sign a prenup saying that if I ever cheated on him, I would get nothing. The thought of being stuck with Gregory for a year or two was bad enough. But forever? This was terrifying. I freaked out and told Mom I couldn't go through with it. She went crazy at me and told me if I didn't marry him, she'd never talk to me ever again. I was 17 and I didn't want to lose my mom, so I signed the prenup and married Gregory. But one of the conditions was that they'd pay off my mom's debts and help her out financially. 2 years later, I have all the material things I could ever wish for. but I'm stuck in my big house all day, bored out of my mind. I'm married to a man I have no feelings for, and he treats me like his possession. Then, one day, I was sunbathing by the pool when the most beautiful man walked past me. It turns out it was the new gardener, Eli. Watching Eli became the highlight of my day. I wore big sunglasses so he wouldn't know what I was doing. Once, I drank one too many afternoon cocktails and tried to fill my boredom, and I tripped over and cut my knee. Eli dropped the garden shears and rushed over to me to help me hobble inside. As he cleaned up my knee, I felt this tingling sensation. Not long after that, we shared a kiss, and it was magical. I just couldn't resist him anymore. So now we're having an affair. I think about Eli all the time and imagine what it would be like being with him for real. I'm not bothered by the money, as I've finally realized that love is far more important than expensive things. But I know this is something my mom could never comprehend. To her, love is something made up for fairy stories. Gregory's hardly ever at home, so it's easy to carry on my affair with Eli, but I know I can't carry on like this forever. Now I don't know what to do. Being with Gregory is making me miserable, but if he catches me cheating on him with Eli, then I will lose everything, including the love of my mother. She will never forgive me if my actions cause her to lose the lavish lifestyle she loves so much. I feel so confused, but what should I do?